Hello everyone, I am Tacet, and today I'm going to be going over the Gems of War Paw Unfortunate Souls event, in which the Spell-Paw is added to the game. This week we're going to be getting a new faction this Friday for Stormheim, as well as possibly version 4.7 coming very soon. Could be any time from later today all the way till maybe sometime next week, but very soon we should be seeing the patch. But in other news, let's get right into the troop. So, as far as the trait stones, yellow-purple, you would mostly use that for earlier on in the game, Ameru, Herdmaster, Ancient Golem, and Arcane Golem. Later on into mid-game, you would use it for Mare Queen, Inferno King, Fanessa, and Divine Ishbala. So that's most of the things you'd be able to use that for. It's 300 glory each if you do want to stock up on them. Not the cheapest they'll ever be, since it's not a epic, but still definitely better than having to go and grind them out through Explorer. As far as the troop itself, it's rather underwhelming. It converts all blues to red. This is somewhat good because most Rashkas are red, most of the things within its own kingdom and within its own typing, and then it gives a bunch of armor and a barrier to the strongest ally. This will more often than not end up being your hero, given that your hero has higher durability than essentially every troop in the entire game, so you can kind of build around that, using it to constantly buff up the hero, and could even utilize that with hero classes like the Rashka hero class, or the Applied Lands hero class, same thing, that doesn't naturally have any kind of barrier, in order to give them a form of barrier, or use it something with with Titan that already has barrier spam in order to bury them a bit more. Overall, this troop's probably not going to be used much, especially since the kind of synergy that you may end up using this with is the Rashka hero class itself, which will also be available for a Thursday event this week. However, it already has a Firestorm summon on this, which is something that the hero class itself would already do. So weird little confliction there, and other than that, it's not really going to give you much of a benefit, and given that it doesn't have Empower like some other converts of the similar typing, it's probably not going to be worth using in most situations, and is most likely just going to become something that is basically never used unless specifically for these kind of restrictions, like for the raid event this week and for the class event this week. But other than that, it isn't really going to be seeing much usage beyond this week. So do be mindful of that if you do end up upgrading it, though you might still want to just upgrade it for kingdom purposes, as it is currently possible now to get Pride Lands to 14 stars as of today, with the new troops that ended up coming in. Other than that, we still have the Mythic that ended up coming in. That's not the Mythic. There's the Mythic. We still have the Mythic. That's weird. They use the same icon for both. But Shabanu Vespera still in the Glory Gem Guild and VIP drop table. For whatever reason, there is no timer here. However, it will be lasting for another 4 days and 15 hours, so until Friday reset. So basically the end of Thursday, you'll be able to go and still get this. So if you have some Glory Gem Guild or VIP chests that you might have gotten from tasks and you still want to go get the Mythic, you still have several days to go do so. So definitely make sure to do so if you are interested in it. Other than that, we got 10% to all Pride Lands and 10% to all Rashkas. This is almost the entirety of the kingdom with 20%, as that is a good majority of the kingdom, since about 80% of the kingdom will basically have 20% bonus. Other than that, if you do want to use it, you can end up getting 400 additional gold per PvP and Explore battle that you'll end up using the new Glory Troop for. So worth considering, particularly if you can get a quick kill in PvP against firebombs or something similar, or if you just want to put it into a quick kill Explore team, something like a Leprechaun into a Rowan, and just doing it with that, quick kill them instantly, and just rinse and repeat to constantly keep getting a decent amount of gold. It'll allow you to farm up hero classes while still getting a pretty competent amount of gold, given that you can win within like 20 seconds or so and get a whole additional 400 gold every single time you do so, which obviously stacks up to be a lot of additional gold per hour. Other than that, event key drop table, we have ourselves, of course, the Rashka event week this week. So as far as the drop table is concerned, that is everything underneath the Rashka section. Just click Rashka and click show all if you don't already own everything. And this is everything that you'll be able to get. Unlike some event key drop tables that might have some things that you might not be able to get, as far as everything that you see underneath this category of show all Pride Lands is available right now. So every single thing you see here, you will be able to get within the event key drop table. Unfortunately, most of this is useless, and you should probably just skip on event keys for this week. The main things that are only relevant are the Bandit, which you only really get off of 35% summon off of a few hero classes, which you don't really need to have too upgraded. Sakima, however, she doesn't really have any too good of synergy. She is a double convert. However, she's one of the least used double converts, mostly because of no half mana start currently viable within the game for her, nor are the synergies with her really that good at the moment. Her on its own, the troop on face value, is actually pretty solid. It's just she doesn't really have any proper synergies. She'll probably become viable into the future, so definitely advise having at least one copy of her if you don't already have her. But beyond that, I wouldn't really go too far. Other than that, the Mythic from this kingdom is actually good. Not one of the absolute better ones. Ever since they nerfed it, used to have a 4-to-1 boost ratio. They ended up increasing his mana cost and nerfed his ratio. But still okay. He's basically a double kill troop. If you get a kill, you'll end up killing both the two things that you hit. So he's somewhat okay in that regard. Overall, not really used in the current state of the game, so do be wary of that. So overall, I would say skip on event keys. Also, I did misspeak there. Obviously, you cannot get the epic troop this week. However, everything else you can, but that's always applicable. Whenever there's a raid troop or an invasion troop or a bounty hunter troop, for the duration of that event, you can never specifically get them in keys. You can only get them through gems through the event itself, but that is applicable to all events. Speaking of those events, it is, of course, a raid week this week. As far as the new weapon that ended up coming in, it's nothing too relevant. It's just a Pride Lands weapon. It's the same kind of premise of many weapons we've been getting lately. Just deals damage to an enemy, boosted based on a certain type. Then creates a mix of two colors, in this case green and red, and it's of course just all boosted based on Pride Lands. Not really ever going to be using this weapon. There's basically no point, so you can pretty much just ignore it unless you're just getting it for completionist purposes, of course. But overall, as far as usability, that weapon is not going to be that useful. However, there is a useful weapon in Soulforge, which we'll get over to in a second, which of course is Rope Dart. But first, let's go over with raids. So for raids, you can end up just using this, and there is a Sakima team. As well, you can just end up replacing this with Sakima. I'll be showing that in a little bit as well, but its basic premise is you just go throw down a Mang. You'll want to do this onto the boss, of course, and then you're going to want to go and use the raid troop this week. This raid troop is probably one of the best ones, or among one of the best ones we've had pretty much ever. And basically what this will be able to do is he has a 5-to-1 boost ratio based on the life of whatever he ends up targeting. So this is going to be interesting because he has a 5 times multiplier if you get him to Mythic while having a 5-to-1 boost ratio, which essentially means whatever their HP value is how much damage he will do. So this basically means if you go and Mang or use any armor tier ability, you hitting with the raid boss killer will automatically kill the Zugoff, regardless of what difficult you do it on. Even on 500, if you Mang into the Night Slayer, it will 100% of the time kill out the Zugoff. So this is going to be a pretty easy raids for the most part, particularly if you go really deep and on the deep end, more so than it normally would be, simply because it's 100% of the time going to be one-shottable. Any level that you do it on, Mang plus that, assuming this is Mythic, will end up killing it. And even if it's not Mythic, it probably would still kill it too. Because even if you did have it at, let's say, only Legendary, you're still getting something around like 40, 50 damage or somewhere around there. And that's still a lot. That times 4 is still, what is that, 160? Yeah, 160. That's still a decent amount. And it would most likely still kill. So overall, going to be a pretty easy raid week, I would say. And of course, worst comes to worst, you could just solo everything with Mang. That would likely be possible. But definitely Mang plus raid killer is pretty solid combo, and everything else around is basically just for mana generation, and Uber State you could easily just replace out with Sakima and just roll it that way. Unfortunately, this kingdom doesn't really have that many mana generators, so Spell-Paw, while being a relatively bad option, is pretty much the only option you really have, since the only other thing that mana generates in the kingdom removes skulls, which obviously you would not want to do, given that you need skulls in order to utilize Mang's damage. But yeah, overall, probably going to be a really easy raid week, so nice there. As far as things going on throughout this week, as I mentioned, we should be getting version 4.7 patch very, 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 very soon. It could potentially be today, it could potentially be tomorrow, it could potentially be in like a week or so from now. We don't know, but we might know later today exactly what the date will be, and hopefully it's sometime this week. It's very likely, so keep an eye out for that, and of course we'll be going over that in depth whenever it does end up launching. Other than that, Tuesday, we have ourselves a faction event for All Seeing Eye, so the cycle of factions have now recycled all the way back to the start of them. This Wednesday, we're going to be getting the little Pride Lands pets, nothing really too special there, but you can get more copies of it if you don't already have it maxed. Other than that, this Thursday, we'll be able to go and get the Pride Lands hero class up a little bit more, the Sun Spear. Nothing really too special. It does have an Entangle Freeze, and it does have triple damage to burning. It does have Perpetual Red Storm too. There are several instances where you can end up using this thing. However, I'm not too huge a fan of it. The biggest issue that it normally has is not having a mana start, but any kind of red-oriented team, particularly for things like Red Guild War, or if you're going to be doing a burn option with it and you want to have like an Entangle Freeze combination with it, it can be a decent hero class. Definitely above average as far as hero classes are, and you might want to consider upgrading it a bit. I personally feel like compared to Titan and things, I don't use this nearly as much, and while it might be good in some situations, it is extremely situational and very rarely used. Other than that, this Friday, of course, we will be having a new faction coming out. This faction will be for Stormheim. Not really too relevant coming out from the kingdom itself. But we will be getting 4 new troops and be able to mess around with all those. I believe the most relevant thing will be the legend, as they normally are, which will have a freeze burn option. So that'll be a little bit nice with even just the hero class I just mentioned, since you'll be able to go and do triple damage while also being able to go and freeze them, so your skull spam won't fire back on you. By any of the hero classes that have triple damage on burning is probably the main thing that you would end up synergizing the new legend coming out for Stormheim faction this Friday. Other than that, of course, we have Soulforge. The most relevant thing to mention immediately in Soulforge is the fact that we have, is the fact that we have Rope Dart. I highly advise crafting this before the end of this week. Like, it is near mandatory to go get this thing. This is arguably the best craftable weapon in the entire game, and this is the first time it's been craftable since they've added the rotation for it to be craftable. And it'll probably be another 6 or 7 months before you can craft it again, so definitely go and craft this thing. It's relatively cheap, 300 diamonds, 3 celestials, 600 of the 2 colors, and 15,000 souls. Souls are easily farmed off of just doing some arena or use a soul farming team. Celestials you'll pretty much just get naturally. The 600 of these 2 you'll be able to get during the 2 days of dungeons. However, if you are still short, you can end up doing oh gosh, I was just about to mention pets. So if you go and do spam PvP a bunch, you'll be able to go get pet battles, and those pets could potentially be either a blue or a yellow pet. And whenever they roll into a blue or yellow pet, you can end up getting anywhere from like 50 to 100 or so of these within a single pet battle. And you can get those potentially every single hour for your entire guild. So if you're still a little bit short, you can get that. If you're a little bit short on diamonds, there aren't really too many ways that you could do them. I believe the 7th task for every single one of the challenges, if you haven't already done them, give a little bit of diamonds, I believe 10 per kingdom. And other than that, you can also end up getting some from randomly killing gnomes, so that's probably not going to be too viable this week. Obviously, you get a good majority of them from doing dungeons, and if your guild isn't already doing it, I believe task number 10 for guild gives 25 diamonds each, meaning you could get 150 from that. But highly advise getting this thing by the end of the week. It eliminates, it's basically a Mang-like weapon, except it has a few things about it that make it quite a bit viable. But it eliminates all the armor of an enemy, and then deals some damage to them, and then pulls them to the first position. So this is going to tear all their armor, do a decent amount of damage, which will hit just to their HP since their armor is already torn, and then it'll move them to first. However, that's not the main thing that makes it viable. The main thing that makes it viable on top of that is the fact that it has Entangle in the first slot, so you're basically moving something to first and immediately entangle it, so it can't end up doing skulls back to you. However, it also has an extra turn. So that extra turn makes it extremely good, since you can just go throw it down. It'll still be your turn. They'll be entangled. You can then just go throw a skull spam at them, and they won't be able to retaliate back. Or you can simply go and target something that you need killed on the opposing team, and as long as you're not stealthied, you just target them, bring them to first, easily kill them with a skull or 2, or skull spam, and then boom, they're down. On top of that, it even has some amount of random gem destroy, which is normally not too good of a thing. However, since it has automatic extra turn, that is an extremely good thing, since that will allow you to do a very small amount of board clear while automatically having your extra turn, so the board will automatically be in your favor. Really great weapon. Highly advise getting it. It's mostly used with Divinish Ball Aquilin, however, there are plenty of ways that you can end up utilizing it aside from that. There's just the main meta that it is used for, and I will be showing that team in a moment for any of you that aren't too aware of it. Other than that, since I skipped over troops, let's just mention over troops real quick. Main thing to really mention is Scorpius is available. Keep in mind that this is probably the last time Scorpius will be available prior to him never being useful again. So if you want to go and craft him in order to build what is essentially the quickest Explorer team currently in the game, you probably want to go and pick him up then. Do keep in mind that there is a potential that he might not be viable a couple months from now or several months from now, given that his only real purpose is for running level 12 Explorer, the top level Explorer. I personally feel like he's going to be viable enough that it is worth getting. and this is probably the last time we're getting a Scorpius will ever be viable enough. So you might as well get him now while he's actually viable rather than later, just for completionist sake when you're just getting him for the sake of getting him. So I would advise, if you do have to spare 4,000 diamonds, to potentially consider Scorpius, especially if you have Uryali. Though even if you don't have Uryali, you can still run him on the viable team just by running it with a web spinner. And with a web spinner, you can still end up getting poison. You can also do the same with Shadow Dragon if you happen to not have web spinner or prefer using Shadow Dragon instead. But yeah, highly advise getting it. Really great for Explore. Actually, I just finished the Explore grind too by getting our 3 niches finally. Just ended up completing that out last night, so that ended up working out well. But anyways, yeah, that's pretty much the only thing viable in Soulforge. You can pretty much just ignore everything else and just go from there. But other than that, let's go and mess with all the teams then that we're going to mention for the week. Oh no, we got fire bombs. Hate when we get fire bombs there. Should have double checked earlier. Oh well. Oh, now we have a really annoying battle here. But anyways, let me go show the Rope Dart team. And also, because I didn't really mention it, I should probably go mention this other team too. This is a Scorpius team that I was referring to. I know most people on stream know of this team, but just in case for the people on video, I'll probably go and post this in the description too. This, of course, is the main team that we've been farming all of our medals on, which allowed us to go get 3 niches that we just completed recently. It is Mountain Crusher set to Titan, Scorpius, Leprechaun, and Uryali. Uryali's here to poison all enemies. Scorpius instant kills anything that's poisoned and just gets double kill into double kill. Leprechaun here is for empowered into mana accumulation, and Mountain Crusher is here to tank so you don't die, while also giving Brownstorm at the start of battle, while also having Explosion, while also just helping you out a lot between the two of those. And between the Brownstorm Explosion, you'll easily be able to go and get Scorpius filled, cast once, cast again, and he can wipe out in about 30 seconds on average per Explore battle at level 12. And you do that specifically in the Kingdom of Urskia, all the way over here in the top left. The main reason you do it here is Urskia currently has 0 immune to poison troops, and it's one of the reasons why I say it might not be viable into the future, because the second Urskia gets a as soon as Urskia gets a single troop that is immune to poison, it will start to slow down this method, as Urskia is currently the only kingdom with 0 immune to poisons. So the second one appears there, it will obviously slow down, since the team is very dependent on the enemy not having any poisons. It'll still be viable for some things even when that ends up happening. However, obviously the biggest thing that it's used for will be a little bit less viable than normal. But any team that has 0 immune to poisons, you can theoretically still get away with using that team. It just might not be as viable as some other options that exist. But other than that, let's go show Rope Dart. So here's a Rope Dart, relatively standard team with it. The exact order can vary depending on how you want to run it. Same as the hero class. I personally run it with Thief, just because it has instant kill, it has dodge, and has stealthy. Pretty important to have Rope Dart with stealthy, just to make sure that enemies can't end up targeting you out. This is more so relevant if you're using it on defend, but I like using it that way offensively too, in case we happen to fight another Rope Dart team. But anyways, you basically just go grab a bunch of mana. You'll go ideally get a bunny off of first turn. Basically how you use Rope Dart is you go and kill the most annoying thing on the opposing team, assuming they don't have stealthy. Fail. Okay, obviously if they have stealthy, you unfortunately cannot target them, as you saw right there. The main thing we'd want to have targeted is his hero, but same reason why we're running stealthy on our hero, so they can't target us. He's doing the same thing, so we can't target him. But we'll go and just throw our skull spam. Obviously, whatever you put into first slot by using that will pretty much die every single time. Really easy kill. And now you just do a bit of a Divine Ishbala Quillen loop. It's not an infinite loop, but it still loops decently nonetheless. I'll just grab this down. We'll Rope Dart the next most important thing, which apparently is a billion spiders, because we can't really do anything to his hero at the moment, unfortunately. We do want to go get Divine Ishbala to full mana. Doesn't look like we'll have any way to do so, so we'll keep grabbing a little bit of mana here and there. Doesn't look like we have anything else to take here. Purple Surge would be ideal here. I guess we'll just grab a little bit more yellow. This gives us another Rope Dart, however, not much to really use it for. I'll just go leave our alignment there and then just go spam him down. I'm going to want to move his hero into first slot if we can here, though I can't because the other thing's in our way. However, one nice thing about this hero class is we do get Hunter's Mark every single extra turn we do. And since we're going to be getting so many extra turns, we're going to constantly be able to go and keep getting that triggered. So let's go and get our double hit there. 2 times damage because of the Hunter's Mark, and boom, it's dead. And that's pretty much how that team rolls. It's one of the best defend teams in the entire game. Offensively, I personally don't really use it, as it's not necessarily slow, But oh no, it just plays a little bit weirdly. The AI uses it decently well though. As long as they don't miss the Moon Rabbit, it tends to be pretty fine. Especially since the enemy or the AI can't end up messing up Rope Dart, so it tends to be a really great defend option, just even in that regard. Given that the AI will always use Rope Dart, at least in some way that isn't completely useless, because they'll still be able to Rope Dart into a single skull, which more often than not will kill whatever it ended up touching. And being able to just instantly kill consistently like that is pretty nice to have. But yeah, highly advise getting this. This is the most viable team pretty much that you can use it with. However, it can be used for plenty of things. You can kind of experiment around with a bunch of different mana generators, a bunch of different skull spammers, and pretty much anything you want. It's mostly a defend option, however, it can be used just as easily offensively. However, Mang and Trickster Shot does tend to be a little bit better offensively, so do be mindful of that. But it's still another Mang-like weapon that is 100% worth getting. Other than that, as far as Tuesday events, we will be having a green-blue restriction since it is All-Seeing Eye. Given that, you can use any version of a Truffle team. Here's the 12 magic version I'll probably be messing around with tomorrow. This is slightly different than the version you might normally see me using, which is Forest Troll, Double King, Gob Truffle into the Doomed Glaive. So basically just a one-troop shift. And the main reason for this is we'll have enough magic off of the single Gob Truffle that we could probably just solo with that into the weapon. And the 50% mana start, since we won't have the 20% mana start anymore, since we're going for the extra 4 magic. But of course you can just go for the Double King Gob Truffle method. And you can also replace out Doomed Glaive for a Cleanse option if you so prefer, or if you don't end up owning a Doomed Glaive. Other than that, I figured I'd mention it since she is still available until this Friday. Of course, since it is a blue-green restriction, you are allowed to use pure blue, obviously. So you can use a Titan with Anu Scepter with a Shabanu Vespera, followed by a double Winter Imp. Everything as far as troops, obviously the weapon you can just get from leveling. But those 2 troops are available in the Glory Gem Guild and VIP chest right now. Winter Imp will be available for the next 2 months, all of this month and all of next month for January. And Shabanu is available till this Friday, so until the end of Thursday, basically. So everything there is available in the drop table right now if you want to go and still try picking it up. And that might not be the most viable thing, but figured I'd mention it just because it is still literally, and everything in it is available right now to be able to get relatively easily. Other than the Mythic, that could take a lot of drops, but you know, everything is available to be able to get that team right now, whereas it won't be very, very soon. Other than that, of course, if you're planning on running Pure Faction, this Pure Faction is a little bit weird, and that All-Seeing Eye is one of the only few locations in the entire game where you quite literally mirror the exact same faction battle as the team you use. The most viable thing for running the faction battle for All-Seeing Eye is quite literally just one of each in the exact order they have it. So you just use the banner for the kingdom in the order of a Clarion Leech with a Clarion, Watch Mother, and X-Raider, which is the same thing that the faction itself runs. The main way that you outskill it is by having a 20% mana start, and this will allow you to go and get your Clarion Leech into mana generating everything. It already has a 50% mana start, but that 20% will allow those to get up off of its explosion a little bit easier, and from there you just steal some of their attack. You then keep doing a lot of damage with X-Raider, and you use Watch Mother as your backup plan as enough HP to be able to get out of 1 hit range. So whenever you're starting to get into 1 hit range, you can do this so you go into 2 hit range. And it also has a summon, and it ends up as summoning these 2 troops. So if one of these dies, boom, you just got it resummoned. It is a 50-50 which one it ends up doing, and ideally you'll keep getting the Clarion Leech up. But yeah, you can just keep resummoning if either of those 2 die and just keep using them as meat shields and just clear through the delve that way. So relatively easy Pure Faction. Not the easiest in the entire game, but it's probably one of the more interesting kind of dynamics of any of the Pure Factions, I would say. Yeah, quite a bit of fun, nonetheless. Other than that, here's the cheaper raid team, or sorry, here's the more expensive raid team, the one that we were just showing. Keep in mind that this raid team and the other team that I'm about to show can be used for both the raid event and for the Thursday event for doing the class event. So here's the more expensive one that ends up using Ubistet. However, if you want to go for the cheaper option, you can end up going and, as I mentioned earlier, go with Schema, change up the banner some, and you can just go with this. And this is more so geared towards the Thursday event, though of course you can also use this for the main event as well for raids, and it doesn't use any mythics. The most expensive thing on here is a Sakima that you would hopefully get from the random drops from doing the event thing, or if you just throw a few event keys down. If you don't end up having a Sakima, you could probably just go for a mana generator there, and if you happen to have gotten another one, you could maybe even just double up on Night Slayer, And if nothing else, you could just go for anything that has a decent boost ratio and just try killing them that way, since if you're just doing the free battles anyways, you should pretty easily be able to get it down. And worst comes to worst, main can solo the entire thing, so you'll probably be fine. But anyways, guys, that wraps it up for now. Of course, we will be back very, very soon. Well, later tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, of course, to go over and mess around with raids. But hopefully very soon and going over versions 4.7. Tomorrow night's stream, if 4.7 isn't already out, we will be going over all the spoilers related to 4.7. Some things I haven't been able to mention yet. But hopefully it'll be out in a few days, so we can just go over it then as well. But anyways, guys, I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful week. I will catch all of you later. If you still have any other questions, feel free to leave it in the comment section below. And goodbye, everyone. Thank you all so much for watching.